the national headquarters of RT America in our nation's capital. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez, and happy Friday. The Trump administration continues its all-out assault this week on Iran, with even more sanctions slapped on Iranian industrial metals just today. And that follows a decision earlier this week to deploy a carrier group and bombers to the Persian Gulf. And in fact, we have just learned moments ago, according to reports, that the U.S. is now approved a deployment of Patriot missiles as well to the Middle East. Patriot missiles, as you know, are the defense missiles often used in that part of the world. Well, even insiders here in Washington with think tanks representing organizations like Carnegie Endowment are now saying the Trump administration is being, quote, deliberately provocative. That's a think tank, the Carnegie Endowment here in Washington, D.C. However, right here last night on the News with Rick Sanchez, former Naval Intelligence Officer John Jordan asserted that Iran is getting exactly what it deserves.
Well, I think that there are certainly some comparisons. They're both after Jewish people in Israel, for one. For two, they're both, Iran in this case is an exporter of terrorism, is seeking to have weapons of mass destruction, and is outwardly calling for death to America and death to other countries, and is seeking the means to deliver a nuclear firestorm to our shores. So I think that there are certain parallels. I hate to use the Nazi analogy because it just is so overused and
but that was the conversation, comparing Iran to the Nazi regime. But here's an Iranian clergyman now, not too different a point of view, interestingly enough. He is asked if too many Muslims around the world are now becoming more extreme.
That's an insult to Muslims who are victims of terrorism. So my family members were killed by ISIS, burnt alive, and I've mentioned that in my book, but that's not the point. There are Muslim victims of ISIS, and for other Muslims to say that Islamic extremism doesn't exist, that's an insult to Muslims, let alone the rest of the human population that have been victims by extremism.
Now, this Iranian imam, who is no longer living in Iran, by the way, and is very critical of the regime there, also addresses the question of whether the U.S. sanctions are too much.
Okay, well, I'm a very realistic person and Iranian, so I need to understand what exactly the Iranian people want, because currently the current vibe is America versus Iran in the Middle East. The Iranians, the majority of them, are praying for America to come and help them because of the regime and what it's doing. So from one aspect, I understand the majority of the people who are coming out in protest. From another aspect, I don't want the people to be affected by the sanctions. Then again, I can't deny that the majority of the government is controlled by the mullahs, and we can't sanction just certain individuals.
Well, that's one point of view, which is very anti-Iran government. But we ask the question tonight, is Iran acting in a manner deserving of U.S. and Israeli condemnation, or are both countries simply trying to provoke the Iranians into a war, much like our invasion of Iraq, as some are criticizing? Here in the U.S., you don't usually get to hear the Iranian point of view directly from Tehran, but today you will, as we're going to be joined by an Iranian professor from the University of Tehran. This is a person who actually helped negotiate the nuke treaty with the United States, and he's going to join us right here. This is the News with Rick Sanchez. Don't go away, where we truly believe it is time to do news again. I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.